Shana here, personal development coach, focusing on mastering your emotions and your unwanted triggers, and to break sabotaging patterns. To get out of that toxic self-sabotaging cycle. Today we have an awesome guest with us, Mike Dulio. He is an executive coach and a family consultant. So today we're going to be talking about the family side of things, family perspective, who serves as an emotional mastery architect. Mike, take the mic.
Thank you very much, Shauna. I really appreciate this time here and being here with you. Yes, I am an emotional mastery architect, and I serve through promoting effective communication through the lenses of emotional intelligence for the family dynamic. That is for the professional who is serving as a parent within their home. And we
Awesome.
help to, and one of the biggest things that we do is we help them move from chaos to calm.
I love that. So thank you for being here, Mike, and awesome to dive into the questions that we have coming up. So tell us a bit about how you got into the family consulting and like how did you get into this sector, into this niche?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I've been blessed to be able to serve for nearly right under 2 decades in the field of mental health and addictions. Also worked in the corrections field as well. So I have a background in serving families in all different parameters and different backgrounds. And through families, working with people that's been through a lot of different walks in life, whether it's professional or platonic and personal. And when I left the corporate world during COVID, and I went independent, and I started to serve as a consultant and a coach, I felt the pull to really start working with families um, or professionals that were dealing with families as well, and deal with the issue of communication. And I'm communicating effectively because I've seen how much of a challenge um, not understanding who we were, or lacking self awareness, or not being able to emotionally regulate ourselves or our nervous system, how much that kind of bled into the family dynamic and how that really affected people as a whole. And I've seen families destroyed over that, and I've seen that destroy businesses as well. So when I saw that there are principles that works in business that are also effective for the family, that it starts with emotional intelligence and effective communication. So that's what really pulled me into working with families more specifically, and teaching different principles that are, we could say, it's faith-based, but teaching different principles that helps to bring clarity and understanding so that we can move from chaos to calm and have an effective system to run a successful business within the family dynamic.
I love that. And I love how you mentioned as well, you touched on the point about communication, because communication is so important. I mean, there is that famous saying or that famous thing that people used to go to. It was like the silent treatment. I'm giving them the silent treatment. And that's like the complete
Mm.
opposite of communication. So I honestly respect and I can see how all the energy that you have for this niche and this serving these kind of this dynamic. So it's awesome, and I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to see how we can share your knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shauna. I really appreciate you, and the energy that you bring to this as well, because I know you're an incredible thinker on yourself, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you thank you All right, so let's jump in. All right, so we have this question. All right, and this question is from, we're going to be moving from people pleasing to the principle centered leadership. Alrighty, guys. So, Mike, as parents and as leaders, we often feel pressured to do what is popular or what's trending, right? When I'm going to follow this, I'm going to do that just because a lot of people are doing it. It's like following the crowd, but sometimes it's good to be the lonely sheep. So we've spoken about differences between the principles of the word and principalities. We
Hmm.
had touched a bit upon it before when we were jumping in here. How can a
Hmm.
parent begin to distinguish between a temporary culture trend and a
Hmm.
timeless principle that will actually benefit the child's character in the long run?
That's a great question. So for the parent, what's first and foremost, it's important for the parent to understand who their child is, who they who their who the child is. It's important for them to first of all be very present in in their children's life and be an active presence so they could not only try to teach the child in the way that they should go, but to understand who their child is, and how they learn. How do they learn? Are they a visual learner? Are they an audible learner? Are they kinesthetic? Are they touchy feely? And being able to develop a relationship with your child, and being able to be present with your child, what that does is it opens up communication, a natural flow of effective communication and openness, which builds trust and respect, and with that comes influence. And if the parent is intentional in how they give attention to their child, then that child will naturally return that, or reciprocate that intention or that attention with their child. And if they have that attention from their child, they have influence on their children. So if the parent is a positive influence by modeling, not just by saying, but by modeling with their child, then this will help the child to continue to develop and to learn. And to obviously, children will make mistakes of their own, but there are certain mistakes that they don't have to be pre-exposed to by virtue of the relationship that they have with their parents. So obviously different influences are going to come as they grow up, whatever the case is. The biggest thing a parent can have with their child is communication. And real communication means that they provide security and a safe place for the child to be able to come and share their mistakes with them without feeling judged, without feeling condemned. And they know that mom or dad, they have my back. They mean the best for me, and I can be open with them about anything. And if a child is open, they're going to come with questions. They're going to come with certain things that they think are answers, but they're always going to be in constant communication with their parents. And this could help deter them from the outside influences that are going on
Yep.
because they're going to feel safe and
Yep.
comfortable.
Yep. So they're not going to be just following the trends and the popularity because they know that they can go to mom or dad because they have a good influence. And it's not just about what society wants, it's about like what there is in the household.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And while maintaining the identity of the child. If the child wants to say, "Oh, I like this color," or whatever the case is, the parent gets to be a part of that process instead of the child feeling rejected and looking for acceptance in somebody else's eyes. If they feel accepted in the parent's eyes, then they can have that whole development process together.
This is going to be a tough question, Mike, but what's the fine line with being a parent and a friend?
I love that question. I love that question. I know there's a common thought that's taught. You can't be a child's friend. You can't be a child's friend. You're either this or you're that, or whatever the case is. The truth to that is, well, my understanding is as a parent, automatically you're the authority. By default, you're the authority, and that is clear. And as the authority, we present boundaries, we teach respect, we disciple, and we develop certain structures in our children's lives as the authority. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, now there are different parenting styles, authoritarian, there's a lot of words for it, but without using too many words, just because we're in a position of authority for our child's safety and security in our upbringing, it doesn't remove the ability to love our children and to be present for our children and to be a friend of our children. The biggest thing is understanding the boundaries that we're going to set around our children. Obviously, there's a level of communication that we'll give with our children
Yeah.
that we won't give with our friends
Yep.
because the
Yep.
level of maturity is not there. We have to be clear with those guidelines. So, can we be friendly with our children? Absolutely. Can we be friends with our children? Absolutely. But we have to understand the boundaries and the guidelines to where it doesn't mix up with parent child or this is just my best friend and we could do everything and anything together. There's a difference.
Yep, and I love that you once again it all boils down to communication, and I love that because obviously with communication doesn't just come words, right? There's also the body language, and there are so many
Yeah.
different skills for communication. And like how you said,
Yeah.
there's the loving aspect of it, but then there's also the authority, the authoritative aspect of being that parent. So it's just the matter of when to use those different skills and types of communication, with your child.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Like we
Awesome.
can even exercise and how we choose to exercise our authority is totally up to us. But if we're mindful, like we really got to understand who we are first and because that'll help better approach our children as well. Like I could discipline my kid in a very friendly way. I could even make discipline fun if I understand the way that I communicate.
Yeah.
And but when my child gets out of line, obviously I could maintain my authority by the way that I speak. So a lot of it, like you said, falls on communication and the way we communicate with our children.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a scary situation, right? Where unfortunately kids just follow society and the trends that they're going, and there is that, fine line between where a parent knows what's good and not for that child, and then for them to be cool or respected between their group. And as we know, there are so many different um aspects when we're following the cool thread, and then when we're following a life of goodness, of a good
Yeah.
spirituality, goodness, right?
Yes. Yes, I know. I understand. Influence is real. Culture is real. Different aspects of influence is real. So that's why it's important for us to be able to plant seeds within our children at a very young age. Seeds of an understanding of themselves, understanding of morality and humanity, whatever those seeds are, these things start very, very young, and it's on us to implant these things in our children while they're young. However, we also have to learn to grow up with our children and to develop with our children so that we can be in tune with the things going on around them so that we can communicate with them and speak with them instead of speaking at them and telling them what to do and telling them what to do. So we have to be, I say have, but it would be better for us to grow and develop with our children. And not so that we're matching their level, but more so they're matching our level, but we're also aware to what's going on in their lives so that
Yep.
we're not completely disconnected. Because if we're disconnected, then we'll lose them to outside influence.
Exactly. Exactly. And Mike, I love how you also said we need to plant the seeds. We can't expect to be parents when we want to be parents if we've never planted those seeds when they were at whatever age, right? It doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
So principles and influence don't just happen overnight. They happen through the structure of when you're growing up your child. So planting those seeds and, you know, um, making them understand or helping them understand of what the outside influence can look like and can be. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, yeah. It's preparing them before they understand that they're even being prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what they say? They say, when's the best time to plant a tree? They say 20 years ago.
Yeah. Time to plant a tree. Today.
Yes. Exactly. 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 So it's important for us to be involved and present in our children's lives. Yes. Great question.
Okay, so let's go on to the other question. We have the opposition. Alrighty, so recognizing that parenting struggles are often deeper than just bad behavior, right? And this could happen on a adult perspective. Let's just take it from, let's say, my niche with my clients. It's when we have an unwanted emotion or we have a trigger that triggers us or a certain pattern, that's just a
Yeah.
facade, right? And we need to
Yes.
dig deeper and deeper and deeper. So, the recognizing that the bad behavior is there's something deeper with that. So, within your therapy practice that you had discussed before, that you had started before COVID, and that you were blessed to work with so many different families, you helped parents realize that the battle isn't always with the child,
Hmm.
but with the unseen stressor, with the unseen stresses and pressures of the surrounding of the family. And that we
Hmm.
can, open up so many different doors with this
Yes.
question. How do you coach a parent to stop reacting to the child's behavior and start addressing the deeper spiritual or emotional climate of the home or of the bad behavior? What advice would you give and how would you tackle the situation?
That's a very good question. It's a loaded question. First and foremost, I'd
Definitely.
have to help. I'd have to, well, sitting down with the parent, depending on the circumstance, I'd have to see what behavior, where did the child learn the behaviors, first and foremost? Is the child simply reflecting the behaviors that they learn from their parents? Or is this something completely independent in it of itself? Um, that's one. Two, how is the parent, what is the child's behavior doing to the parent's emotional system, to their nervous system? Is the parent equipped enough and ready enough to properly deal with the behaviors that are happening? Because the child's behaviors might just be a manifestation of what the parent is feeling but not saying. Because children feel energy. They feel tension around the house. Especially the younger they are, they will react in certain ways that might be a reflection of what the parents feeling inside, but they're not dealing with it. So I've had many of families, many of parents come to me and throw their children at me and say, "Hey, fix my child. They're misbehaving. They're defiant. They're being negative or whatever the case is." And they're using all these words about their child. And I look at them and then I share and I say, well, is this the language that they usually use on their children? Are they speaking life into their children? Or are they promoting death within the children? Because I see more times than not, the children's behavior are a reflection of what the parent either isn't doing or is doing in a misguided way. So, in order for the child to develop or to shape their behavior, I usually work with the parents to check their nervous system or to deal with their emotional regulation or to deal with the things that they're dealing with. Why? Because the children, more times than not, are a reflection of the parent. I
Yeah.
know it's not 100% true. It's not 100%, but more times than not, they reflect the home,
Yeah.
the energy of the home. If the home is in chaos, then the child is simply responding and reacting to the chaos that's in the home. Yeah, so I really point it back to the parents and see what things do we need to
Yeah.
address and adjust to create a
Yeah.
safe environment for the child.
Must be a bit of a pill to swallow for some people because when you're going in there thinking that your child needs fixing, and then you just realize, whoa, I'm the one that actually needs, and then like in the beginning, I would assume, like, let's just take my journey. I don't have children, but let's just take my journey when I started realizing about my toxic patterns and what I had to get rid of. It was a tough pill for me to swallow. I didn't have
Yes,
kids, but it was still very hard for me to reflect on. So I can imagine that I mean, obviously, parents don't have it easy, right? With the work and with the house and with the this and with the that. We all know,
right,
we're all living. We weren't born yesterday or born underneath a rock, so we can imagine what people each are going through, and
right.
it's so true what you said. Like parents, I can imagine them coming in saying, or like for me, it would be with coaching people. It's like fix my husband or fix my wife or fix. I'd be like, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
take a step back. I love you, but like, let's see. Um,
the, the same principle applies.
yeah, yeah,
I like to say when we point one finger at one person, we have
well,
three fingers pointing back at ourselves.
yeah, yeah. And it's so true, as in, like, because I do can understand that, like, kids are like a sponge, and they
Yes.
just, yeah, soak in from what they're seeing, what they're hearing. I mean, I would think, like, I do think about whenever I will become a mother one day, God willing.
Mhm.
I always just wonder, but like even the simple thing of what am I playing on the TV? Is it like, praising music or instrumental, or is
Yeah,
it the complete latter of whatever it is that's not good for the ears? It's these slight shifts I feel that in our house or in our household that we can just be mindful about to see, because we're an
absolutely.
ecosystem, yeah, mind, body, and soul. So works for the kid as well. And then,
Absolutely.
right, the kids out at school, we have less control, and I think we have more control what we can do at home. And like how you're saying, it's what parents do. Let's look at us,
Absolutely.
and it's okay to look at us. It's actually perfect because you
Yes.
want kids to work out. You want your kid to be happy, right? So yeah, actually, I'll take this as a parent. So it's beautiful how you turn that around when people come here. This is my child, fix my child, and you're like, come back here.
Absolutely. Let's deal with you, or let's deal with the inner child. Let's deal with the child that hasn't even healed yet, that's inside of you. And that takes on a life form of its own if the parent is allowing themselves to be honest enough with themselves to deal with that, to address it. And obviously with the experience and the time, there's ways to have that conversation without the parent feeling accused. 'Cause I'm a parent myself, and I
Sure.
understand the life and but there's there's such a freedom and understanding that while we want the best for our children, it may require for us to heal the things that we're dealing with so we could be at our best. And if we can be at our best, naturally we're more in a better space to make sure our children are working at their best. So it's give and take. It's give and take.
Yeah, I love that. I'm yeah, I see it as well how it works in relationships. So if I'm good in a relationship, then I can give that overcupping, that flow from my cup, and
Yeah.
I can give it, and I can I can provide a good relationship for my spouse, right? So
Yes.
it works simultaneously with the kids, and I think the only difference why we react so different with kids is because kids don't have, I'm not saying all of us, we still have to learn our own emotional regulation, but kids still don't have that concept of emotional regulation, and even adults didn't. So can you imagine, what they're trying to regulate, our feelings, their feelings, and they don't even know what they're trying to
Right.
regulate. So I can't imagine what these
Right.
kids feeling. Poor kids.
And now you just described tantrums.
Oh, there you
Yes.
go. I'm ready for motherhood.
It's and I'll share this. One of the biggest things in dealing or helping to better understand tantrums, which adults still have, is language. Is language. Being able to communicate how you feel effectively. Because
Yeah.
tantrums come from an inability to communicate what I'm feeling. I'm trying to let you know how I feel, but I don't know how to let you know how I feel. So
Wow.
I act out all over the place because I'm unable to verbalize it. So my
Wow.
body is physically acting it out because I don't have the vocabulary. But
Wow.
once we get the vocabulary, once we're able to communicate it or to identify feelings or words that help us express what we feel, the chaos calms down because now I'm able to communicate it effectively with you. And because I'm able to communicate in a way that you understand, now I could be like, oh, now I know how to help you or how to deal with you or how to address it. So now the nervous system gets to feel, oh, I feel heard. I feel understood. It's the same thing, whether in adults or with children. Children have to learn this by the way we present it. But like you said, if we've never dealt with that, or we don't even know that it's a reality, then we start to recreate the cycle that we never healed from.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, Mark, that was just so impressive. Like I never wrapped my head around the tantrum and the way you've just explained it. Like this child who's learning all these emotions doesn't know how to articulate. So us
Yeah.
helping, right? And this is all stems back to the beginning of the conversation, communication. Even like,
Mhm.
wow, just wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that because
Absolutely.
usually, I mean, I've seen it obviously with parents. I've seen it with my parents growing up. The tantrum with my tantrum would be reciprocated with another tantrum, and it's just going from chaos to chaos to chaos. But that tantrum
Yes.
needs to be reciprocated with communication and love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you have communication with love, when love and grace follows that communication, it's like trying to fight fire with water. You can't fight fire with water. It only quells it. And the word says, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says something like, when there's anger or when you're dealing with somebody with anger or with harsh words, respond to it with a soft answer.
Yeah,
Respond to it with a soft answer. A soft answer quells anger and harsh reaction.
yeah,
If you fight fire with fire, there's more fire. But if you calm down and you respond in a softer way, then you force them to come down.
yeah, yeah.
Or yes,
Yeah, it's also
yeah,
written, right, where we need to learn how to be slow to anger,
yes,
soft to
yes,
speak. And this is obviously easier said than done. Like, once again, I don't have kids, so I can't imagine with kids, but I do know, like, through my practice and through with my clients, it's one of the things that I really advocate is slow to anger, soft to speak, listen,
yes. And
so
and it's so good that you do this and you do this so well and you teach this so well in your coaching, in your consulting, in your life. because when, as a parent, right, for myself, and when you get to experience that joy as well, we get to teach. This comes with development. That's why you do what you do. Like we're teaching emotional development and emotional acuity or emotional intelligence is what I call it. But this comes with self-development, which is growth, which is understanding, being able to communicate and add language to it. So with for me and my kids, children are going to be children. They're very young, they're immature, they're learning. And more is caught than taught. So you could say, "Don't do what I say." You can say, "Don't do what I do. Do what I say." No, they're always going to follow what you do over what you say. So
Wow.
they're modeling how I communicate. So if I'm using certain language, like you said, slow to anger, right? Like the word says, "Be slow to anger, be rich in love." They're learning by watching me.
Yep.
They're
What did
going
you,
to overreact. Go
what
ahead.
was that phrase? You used the phrase caught and taught. Say that
Yeah,
again.
yeah. More is caught than taught.
Brilliant.
Yes, yeah. So that's how they're gonna learn. And then I get to share how I was able to do this, or this is what I'm suggesting you do because they're watching me do it. They're watching me do it, and I don't always have to say no. Don't do it that way. Don't do it that way. They could continue to watch how I, and then it challenges me to grow, and it challenges me to develop because they're watching me. So we're growing together. That doesn't mean that I can't make mistakes. I
Wow.
can make mistakes, but they can see how I'm growing and developing from my mistakes.
Yep.
So they're learning. Yeah. So yeah. That's
Yeah, it's just so true. It just makes perfect sense, right? And like how you said, we're allowed to make mistakes. It's just like not not being angry and not coming off from a bad energy or bad vibe or bad spiritual principalities, right?
hmm
Coming from
hmm
that aspect, depending what you're letting in your house, who you're letting in your
hmm
house, what you're letting in your
Yeah.
house. It's all,
Right.
and then here
Right.
we don't we blame well, not blame, or we feel that it's the problem of the kid when really and truly we don't know what our environment is bringing in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awareness and mindfulness is so significant. Uh, we 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 teach people how to treat us,
Yeah.
right? So what we tolerate, if we tolerate it, imagine it times 10 for your child.
Yeah.
Or whatever relationship that is. So I seen something on the screen the other day, and it was a quick short, and there was a woman with her daughter at a store. The girl was probably 4 or 5 years old, very adorable. And they're in a store, and there's another woman walking by. She said, "Oh, look at you! You're so cute! You're so cute!" And she's like, "Thank you." And then she touched the little girl's hair, like, "Oh, you're so cute!" And then she kept walking, and the little girl said, "Don't touch me! I don't know you." And then the woman who thought she was being kind and sweet, she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you." And her mom was like, "Yeah, she doesn't allow strangers to touch her. She wasn't raised like that." So the mom taught her child a boundary at such a young age, at 4 or 5 years old, to know that yes, people can look at you and say you're cute and you're adorable, but you don't allow them to touch you.
That's
At
so
that
good.
age, at 4 or 5 years old, I imagine as she grows up and she's valuing herself. These are the little seeds we can implant early within our children
Yep.
to, and that goes into self-esteem, development, and all that stuff. But yeah,
Yep.
it's being mindful, like you said.
See that with mothers, like they wouldn't want their let's say their kids to be kissed if they're just it's an infant. And then the mother wouldn't be able to tell people, please don't kiss my kid. And then once again, it comes back to us having that, self-awareness. And I think I would like to be one of those mothers. Like, hey, like, it's infant. I don't know what you, not what, where you've been, but like, no kisses. I can't imagine as well trying to tell people like, please. So yeah, it comes with strength and yeah, awareness and mindfulness.
Yes, 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 and and I don't want to be blind. I do want to be aware of. I do also understand there are different cultural norms and cultural things, and this and that, which I understand. But but obviously, family is family, strangers are strangers, and when it comes to that, we get to decide what we allow, who we allow, like you said, what comes into the house, what we play in the home. That level of mindfulness and awareness is very, very healthy to promote within the home. So yes.
Mike, I'd like to ask you this question. It's on the spot question. So obviously feel free because it's more of a
Sure.
personal question. So we both come from a faith background. We both, read the Bible. We like to bring up our kids like in God's word. Do you ever feel for people that do believe in God and in Jesus, and we are bringing up kids in this world, but we shouldn't be of the world, excuse me. Can you feed on that, or can you tell us how, as parents, as Christian or, Jesus loving parents, how can we be in the world but not of the world?
Good question. Very good question. I like the yeah, I get it. I get it. The harder we make it, the more challenging we're gonna put it, the more challenge we're gonna make it, the more challenging we're gonna make it for our children. So being in the world but not of the world, right? We have the advantage of Christ has come to offer us the freedom of grace and living in grace and freedom in Him. So, if I understand what you're asking, how do we teach our children to grow up in Christ and while living as kingdom ambassadors in this world? The best thing we can do is model it.
Mm.
The
Yep.
best thing we can do is show up, and we have such a great example. And when I read the word is fun for me. The Bible is fun for me because these are real people. These are real people who lived real lives and real examples, and there are so many principles in there that promote so much other things and blessings and all of that stuff. So to keep it simple is to be the best model that I could be for my children. They
Yep.
get to see how I live this life, what I allow, what I don't allow, the freedom that I live in, the mistakes that I make, the forgiveness and the grace that I don't only offer myself, but I offer others, and just being that
Yes.
example. Just
Yep.
being that example. Yeah,
Yep.
it's bringing it to life. It's simple, it's clean, and I try not to be too harsh on it or myself.
Yep.
And this came with a lot of growth. It came with growth, and I'm still growing and I'm still learning. But that's what it is. That's what it
That's
is.
what it is.
Yeah. Say it again.
Expanding and growing.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
because you know what I've really taken out of this? It's modern. We don't have to try so hard. I think as a parent who wants to be a woman who wants to be a parent, I sometimes find myself daydreaming like, how am I gonna act? What am I gonna do? How am I gonna teach this kid? And you know how it is, you go on over all these like tangents of what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it. And I
Yep.
just, and I really have understood that I need to stop worrying about all of these different like frameworks or ways
Yes,
I need. All I have to be is the Jesus loving woman that I am, as you know, as a mother, as a wife, as a business owner, as a and model.
that's it.
Just model, just be you. And if there are things that I would have to work on, then yes, it's fine. Let's work on them, Shan, right?
That's
You're
it.
not all knowing, Shan. Like you have to learn, it's fine, and we're growing, and things are gonna come with different kids and with kids and forever growing and forever learning.
That's it, Shauna. That's it. That's it. Forever growing and forever learning. We're always being made perfect to the likeness of Christ. We have to live. We have to live life and embody who we are and who we're becoming. And this is it. And that's the path. And if we are too hard on ourselves, then our children are going to learn to overreact and freak out or to live in perfectionism and this and that or whatever the case is. And these are real things. And it's not that they're a problem in and of itself. It's a problem if we don't realize that we have that problem.
Yep. Yep.
And so having it, okay, we have it, but realizing it and wanting to get better is where we're living in, or where I would encourage us to strive to live in. Because all we can do is be the best version of ourselves for our children.
Yep. Yep.
Good, bad, and ugly. And secondly, be very present in their lives.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that the greatest gift we can offer is, since we're talking about the family dynamic in children, the greatest gift we can offer them is being a presence in their lives. Yeah, not to
And
sound cliche, but that's exactly it.
yeah, I think whether it's cliche or not, it's so good that you touched on the presence because how invaluable is it that when somebody gives you time, right? And you just
Oh,
feel like not even the amount of not even the biggest amount of money that I would be able to accept, but your time was priceless.
absolutely.
And we do take it for granted as let's say once again, not me as a parent, but let's say with my spouse, my husband, that sometimes
Yes.
juggling work and what we all juggle in our life, that sometimes I'm not present with him. And yes, thank you for giving me the self-awareness of, yeah, just being present, like, hey,
Yeah.
in the car, not putting on the music, or I don't know, I'm starting to once again
Yeah.
go on my visualizations and,
I
you
love
know,
it. I love it. That's what it is.
switching off the music and just be like, hey, how was your day? No distractions. Hey, let's go here, or you want to come jump in the kitchen with me? Let's cook something up for dad, mom, dad's with mom, and yeah,
Yes.
present.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. There's so much quality in that, and just being present and with, like, whether it's your spouse, or your mate, or your child. Um, First of all, and we could totally get rid of the myth that time is money. No, time does not equals money. Um, um, One is a commodity that we can never get back. Money we can get back. Time we don't get back.
Preach.
So so
Yep.
so so being able to maximize and optimize the time when we can, how we can, within its appropriate boundaries. I mean, that's, like you said, it's priceless. It's a gift. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you for coming and thank you for being here. I think to sum up this amazing, amazing talk, and thank you, you've given me so much value as a, potential future parent of understanding the communication and understanding about the presence. And I love how sometimes even once again, it's not just with kids, but sometimes I can go there and say, oh, can you help my husband? And then it's like, oh, but have you? So I would say for parents as well is not just looking at your child, but looking at you. And there's no shame, there's no disgrace. It's,
Right.
no one's at fault. It's okay. We've all been brought up
Right.
different, and it's just acceptance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's all it is. There's no judgment behind it, and I know as people, there's the natural inclination of guilt and shame. These are natural things that we feel, right? So we can feel it. You can even feel bad for feeling it. What I would always recommend or encourage people, share that you're feeling it. I feel guilty, or I feel shameful, or I feel bad for feeling this way. Don't if you feel it, that's okay, as long as you say it. If you
Yeah,
feel bad for feeling it, that's okay, as long as you say it. Because the truth is, fear, hurt, they hide in the dark. They hide in the dark. And that's where these principalities and spirits roam. And that's why
yeah,
they take control
yep,
in the dark. And that dark
yep.
space could be the dark space in our mind. It could be a dark space in our heart. That's why in the word where it says, confess your sins to one another, that's actually a principle, a secret for breakthrough, for deliverance. Because once we take it from the dark to the light, oh my God, the healing that comes through that, the things we feel shameful about, once we bring it to the light in the right space with the right people, the healing that comes through that. Now I can have real conversations with my spouse or my children because I stopped dealing with that shame. So now I don't have to protect it and create a stronghold while blocking other people who are trying to help me out. Anywho, I don't want to go off
That
on a rabbit
was
hole, but there's
that was so powerful. That was so powerful because it's true. We keep so much inside and we feel that nobody wants to listen. And it's exactly how you said. Once again, we can go on for a long time about this, especially how it is how it's being vulnerable. But it's awesome
yes,
for
yes,
sharing.
yes. Shauna, you're awesome. Thank you for having me. This was absolutely phenomenal.
It was awesome. Okay, guys, I'll drop in Mike's Facebook or website, and whoever wants to catch up with Mike, please feel free to do so.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome,
Yep, you can find me if they find you, they can find me. So that'll be great.
awesome. I'll drop you the link. 100%. Awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you so much. Thank you.